Hi, welcome to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Give me that thumbs up at the end if you think it's a great video. And ring that bell, that way you'll get more notifications when I make some more awesome videos for you like this one. Today I'm going to show you how to make my corset shoulder zipper bag. It's a little corset. It's three-dimensional. It's two hoopings. It's a little corset that laces up. This bag is fully lined all the way, no seams, and I've added the zipper charm onto it to make it look nice. It has two options to either do the shoulder way with the two tabs, or you can do a side tab for a wristlet. It also comes in the 5x7. This one happens to be the 6x8.5 size. So let's get started. Alright, let's get started. So these are the items that you're going to need, the materials. So I'm going to go over them real quick with you and the sizes so that you'll understand what size you need to cut and how I do it. So I've got my hoop. I happen to have my 12x8 hoop, but you can do this in the 6x10. Tearaway stabilizer for the first part of the corset, and then I use for the bag part, I'm going to use a cutaway, which is going to be a lightweight tearaway. So that's for our stabilizer and the hooping. So my first thing will be, in my program I actually am able to print out my pattern. So I do print out the pattern from the editing program I have, and then I make my notes on it so that I can always refer back to this every time I'm ready to make a corset bag. So we have our zipper, and I'm going to use a 7, this happens to be like a 7 or 8 inch zipper. I'm not sure where they're actually measuring it, but I know it's going to fit. I have my pattern, which is actual size, and I know the zipper will fit. So we have our zipper, our vinyl pieces that we cut out. This will be the outside of our bag. This is the back of it. This is a 9 1/4 by 6 3/4. I have an 8 inch by 6 3/4. Sorry. That'll be the front bottom part, and then I have my 1 1/4 by 6 3/4 cut out. That's going to be the top part. So the zipper is going to go there, top and bottom. Then I'm going to have my fabric pieces. This is for my inside lining. So I've already pre-cut and I've already hemmed them, so I'm going to show it to you. So this will be the back side of the lining. This will be the bottom part, which will be underneath the zipper, and it's already got its hem. The hem is anywhere from 3/8 to 1/2 inch hem. And this will be the top part, which I already did a hem as well. And that's where the zipper is going to be for the inside of the lining. That's what I chose. Then I've got my outside corset piece. This happens to be 1 sheet of glitter vinyl. And I only need a piece of the glitter vinyl being 7 3/4 by 6 1/2. So because this is already an 8 inch piece, I went ahead and just cut the full piece, and that way it left me a nice scrap piece for doing something else with. So I have my vinyl for my front corset piece. I have my cording to lace up when I do the corset, and it's about approximately 40 inches long. So that's my cording, this is actually a satin ribbon. You can use a cording. This is a thinner one. You can use the number 2 or number 1. It's the size of it, so it's about, I think, almost 1/2 inch. I've got my shoulder strap, my little zipper pull charm that I chose to do, my lighter and my scissors, my favorite pair, 4 inch curve, and then these are going to be my 2 strap holders at the top, or so they're going to go at the top, and this is how I make them. Scrap piece of vinyls. These happen to be 2 inch if you're going to cut them. I've got 2 inch by 1/2 inch, which are these. I just use a stick glue. This will be my first thing I do. I'm not trying to be permanent, just enough to hold it so when I do my sewing, they're not going to pop up. So this is how I do these. They're 2 inch by 1/2 inch strips with my D-ring. Use a little bit of stick glue. Fold it in half. And I use my little clips. You can use paper glue, you can use anything you want. I just happen to have the fabric clips. and I let these sit until I'm ready to use them, and the glue sticks pretty well, enough to hold it so when I go to put it in the hoop and tape it, they're not going to be flipping up on me. So those are done really quick, and we're all set. I'll meet you at the machine. Alright, our first thing I'm going to do is my outside corset so I can put all the other items away off to the side. Have my hoop. I have my program or file already in my machine set up, ready to go in the colors that I want for it. And that's the, I don't know if you can see it very well, but that's my printout from my program and my size. And then that way I know what it is I need to sew out and what colors. I'm going to use a tacky spray on the back of my vinyl. A lot of people are against it. Up to you, whatever you want to use. I've been doing it for over 10 years, so I don't have a problem with it, never have, and just my opinion, it's you don't have to, you can tape it down if you want, it's up to you. My way is not the law, so I'm going to spray it. Sorry. And I put the pattern all the way to the side. And I'm going to just eyeball it, center it. I know it's, you know, right at the edge. I'm going to go just about 1/8 of an inch over my guideline and center it and tack it down. So it's all the way to the left side in my hoop, and I've centered it between, and here's my center. And I've got it up on each side. Here's my little marks, and I've only gone about 1/8 of an inch over the marks. Put it in the hoop. And we'll go ahead and let it sew. Alright, we're all done with the embroidery parts, and we'll be unhooping this and cutting it and preparing this. I'll do it right here. No need to go to the table for it. And use the tearaway stabilizer for this part. We'll tear most of it off. And I got most of the stabilizer off. Want to make sure the edge that we're going to be really close cutting to the straight edge. in here. We want to make sure that you get all the stabilizer off, and I trimmed the little threads, and then I take my lighter, I'm known for my lighter, and I burn all these little things off, the threads, and you can see that the little ends curl up. That, you know, helps it in a couple ways, from the threads coming out. It pulls them back so they're not sticking out. And I want to make sure the corners that I know are going to be seen are when we attach it to our bag. So we want to make sure that those little threads are not sticking out. And you don't hold it for too long. You'll see the threads start to curl up. Some of them will look like they're catching on fire. You just kind of tap them out. Careful, the rayon and polyester is like a nylon thread, and it will melt, and it can burn. There we go. So the back is all good. We're going to trim on the front. And on these little hole parts, you can either punch the holes or we can put rivets in there. So I'm probably going to go ahead and do the rivets to show them to you. I'm not an expert on rivets, don't use them very often, so we'll kind of be doing that and learning together on that one. So same thing, I'm going to take my lighter on all these little threads on the front really quick. It just pulls them all in so they're not scraggling. All good. All right, now for my scissors. Nothing expensive, I always say. These are my vinyl scissors, and I got these from the 99-cent store. Scissors, cutting vinyl, felt. Let me back out here a little bit. There we go, so you can see what I'm doing. Felt, vinyl, fleece will dull your scissors really fast. So I wouldn't buy an expensive pair just for them to get dull really quick, unless you have a sharpening place that you can get them done, and no problem, don't care about the expense. I use 99-cent ones. They last a while. If not, then you throw them away or use them for your paper scissors. So when cutting this out, we want to leave extra on the ends over here, because when we attach this to the bag and we line everything up, we want to leave just a little bit extra so that when it starts to sew, we'll have enough to tape it down, and then it'll cut out when we're done. So I'll start at the top doing my scallops, and I'm going to keep kind of close. And you turn your project, not your scissors, and you keep your project up inside your blade, not at the tip. You get nice smooth cuts when you keep your project up inside your blades. Little not easy cutting right here at an angle to be in the camera for you, so normally I'm cutting inside or in front of myself. And the same thing, if you feel like you're going to make a mistake, stop cutting if you're getting off your line and just move your scissors back in real tight and continue cutting. When you get into the corners, same thing. And this is the line where we need to have our straight line going down. We go close to my edge. This is where we're going to lace up our corset. And I want to make sure that I have it here, because I'm going to be lining these up, so I need to make sure that I can see where this thread ends, because I'm going to line the next piece up to continue sewing on my bag. So I'm going to cut right up into it. So that's one side of our corset. There we go, well done. Throw my scraps away. So I've got the top pieces now ready for our bag, so we'll be moving on to the bag next. Alright, we're ready for part 2. I've got my hoop with my cutaway stabilizer. This happens to be a fusible one, and the fusible is on the bottom part because when we heat up or iron the lining in the bag, the lining will stick to this part and not the vinyl part. And I have my instructions again with my measurements, and we're going to start with the vinyl. And these are now ready to be used. They're stuck together, dry, they're really quick with that glue. So those will be off to the side. My first thing is going to end up being my zipper and my vinyls. So I'm going to put my hoop in. Everything's already in the machine ready to go. I put all my colors to what I need. I'm going to be using black. And then when I put the corset pieces on, when I attach these, I'm going to be using the pink that I used for the outline. So whatever color you used for the outline of your corset to start, that's the same color we're going to use to attach it to the bag. So I used pink, and that's what it's going to end up being on the bag when I attach it. So I'm going to first stitch out my placement lines. So I have my zipper. I'm going to show you this part. Let me zoom out a little bit here. Alright, so I have my zipper placement, and this is the full bag. So when I put my zipper on, hopefully we can get this in here, my opening to my bags and anything I make or design, my opening to my bag, the zipper is always to the right side. Or like I explained in another one, if I have a wristlet, the zipper's on the opposite side of where it's hanging or the wristlet is, so that the theory of that is that when the bag hangs, the zipper stays downwards and stays closed, and if it's up here, it's not going to dangle and start to unzip by the heaviness or the weight of gravity. So, in that theory, sorry, whoops, I just moved it. I always keep my zippers to the right side of the opening or opposite side of where the wristlet is. When I put a zipper in also, so this is for the more advanced, and you'll start to see this, I've noticed on more and more bags, I've noticed that people are doing this. Don't know if it's from me or just they've thought of it themselves, but this is how I do it. You don't have to. If you're more comfortable, you can put it on the other side. But this little metal piece I leave inside my bag. That way, when the bag is opened to the end here, it's not by any chance, if it unravels the stitching on the side, or when you turn it, it starts to unravel that stitching, the zipper's not going to fly off. The zipper is going to stay on. So here, I keep this metal piece, so I actually see where my stitch line is going to be, and I'll move it in just a little bit so that the needle's not going to hit it. I center it between my two lines. I put that zipper, the middle of the zipper right on that middle line. Some designers don't have that middle line for you, so you're going to, you know, do your best of centering it between the two lines that they put there for you. So I'm going to tape that down really well, line that up, make sure it's centered. And the other side I'm going to line up too, just make sure that the line is lining up in the center, laying the zipper back down. Whoops, sorry for having my tape underneath the tripod. Okay, and you can see I don't use a really long zipper. I use that zipper that's just enough to, and I'm actually going to pull it down a little bit so it's there. I'll type the ends down so it doesn't get caught on the machine. but I just have just enough zipper. You don't need to waste, cut all that extra off there. So everything's lined up pretty much in the middle. And put it back in. And the next one is the tack down for the zipper. Off on my zipper. Yep. So things do happen, mistakes do happen. My zipper it moved, so my zipper is a little off. So before I go further, I'm going to actually undo this and restitch it. So just take my seam ripper and carefully get it started, and then just carefully go. And I'm going to move it over a little bit, and I'm actually, just to get it right, I'm going to add a tiny bit of tape on the side. There we go. Alright, remove the tape. And this time it turned out much better, right on line. Alright, have my vinyl now. I use a little bit of tacky spray. I use tacky wherever I can. There we go. So I'm going to line up my pieces right above my zipper. And some vinyls spray a little bit, some don't. Most of them don't. This one has a fabric on the back. So I just kind of give it a little singe to keep those edges and little things tucked in so they're not sticking out into my zipper. And you're going to center the top piece. If you want to tape it, you're more than welcome. Tacky didn't tack on this one. I have a spray booth down below if some are just watching for the first time, so I'm not just spraying anywhere. Don't spray near your machine, and don't spray inside your hoop. Alrighty. There we go. And same thing, I already singed the top of this vinyl, and I'm going to line it up right by the teeth. Down. And for anybody else, where I would tape it, because I know what it's going to do, the next one's going to be a tack down around the zipper, and then it's going to continue and do a full piece to keep the whole piece in the frame. So I would actually do tacking it near both pieces at the same time there, and then if you want to do a corner, just to keep it down. So that's how I would if you want to tape down. I would put one here too. Always keep an eye on it as it does start stitching as to where your metal piece is for your zipper. Okay, I should have done these in a different color, but you might be able to see them. In the beginning, you might want to do another color so that you can find your marks, and then once you get good at it, you'll know where they're at and how to do it. But it did these 4 little marks right here, and those 4 little marks are where we're going to line up our corset part. This is where you're going to need tape. There's no tacky glue to this part, sorry, or tacky spray. So I'm going to take my 2 pieces, and the 2 pieces are going to line up this way. So hopefully you can see it in this part. So let me make sure I can get you here. So the top, how it's going to sew is going to start right at this tip, and it's going to sew a curved part, and it's going to end up at this tip. So if your tips line up exactly on those marks where they should be, and it's going to be on the out, the mark is maybe about 1/4 of an inch, so you're going to line this up. The tip of this will be at the outer tip, not the inside, but the outer tip of your marks. So line this up. And once you know, you'll get good at it. You'll be able to line them up properly. So it's hit and miss. Sometimes you get them right on, and you're like, yay! Sometimes they're going to be a tad bit off, but it's still not bad the way it's designed. It doesn't. It won't if you know you're not that far off. There we go. And you can tape it on the inside because it's not going to sew on the inside. You can tape the top, the bottom. I secure this down really good because you spent all that time trying to line it up, and you just don't want it to move on you. So you can do one side at a time if you want. The way it is in the machine is it's going to do both at the same time. So I turn the hoop around, and I'm going to do the same with the other side. Everything's taped down really good, and I'll try to see if I can get this to show you, but you may not be able to see the marks are right at the end, right here where the sewing is. So the mark comes this way, and the very end of the mark is right at that point. Right at that point. So that's where the marks are going to be. All right. And we go back on the machine. And this is where we've used the color that is the color of the corset. Cross our fingers. And we're going to remove our tape. And that's how it's sewed out. So it's attached now. You really won't be seeing the side of this because once we get it laced up and everything, it's closed, so you really don't, you know, the very top you might, so if you want to clean it up, but otherwise we're good. Okay, now we're going to cut the vinyl. It's time to cut the vinyl. This is where you're going to be very careful of cutting, and I'm using my 4-inch curved scissors because this will be your final look to the bag. So you want to make sure it's nice and even. You don't want to snip. You want to cut, move in, a little bit of a cut, move in. There we go. That's one. Cut side. There we go. Both sides are cut, nice and neat. There we go. And we're on to the next part. And we're going to go ahead and add the lining now. So we're going to flip our bag over. And we'll trim a little bit some of these hanging stitches. And tacky glue again, same thing. It's not going to ruin anything, just to keep it on there. And this is the tacky glue that I use. Repositionable tacky glue by Aleene's is one of them that I use. Or I use the Dritz basting spray. Basting is a little bit more tackier than this one. So we want to remove our stabilizer, so we're going to cut that where the zipper is. That way we can see where the zipper is. There we go. And we'll position this right above it. And right below it. Make sure we're inside our guidelines. And if you're not going to glue, you're going to tape. We'll tape the corners. And now it's going to tack down where my zipper is. And it'll be right across the top, cutting close. So I'm going to make sure you're cut really close to your stitches on the top of your corset, so it doesn't hit the zipper line. Check underneath to make sure everything is flat and didn't move. Alright, what it did after it did the zipper part and tacked the zipper down, it went ahead and stitched out the places where I'm going to put my D-rings for the handbag attachment. Check the bottom again. Make sure everything is good and nothing moved. I'm going to keep the tape on because I'm not doing another stitch to keep this down. I think it's just too much stitching, too much going through your vinyl, too much bulk. So I do as minimal of stitching as well. So my next thing will be to attach my D-rings. Same thing, those will be just taped down. I'm gonna make sure the D-ring's on the inside. And I'm at the same spacing on each side and same amount coming down. Alright. So I'll let it stitch the hoop or our loops. Alright, we're almost done. So the next thing is we're going to put our back piece. So you want to make sure, important part, that your zipper is open. So you want to come across, and I open the zipper all the way because you're going to have to put all that vinyl through the hole. So I put my zipper all the way across. And I will tape this back down so that the zipper has the same guideline of staying closed. And there we go. Make sure my metal is down and not in the way. It's not going to hit my stitch line. The next piece, we're going to put our vinyl piece over top. And we want to make sure we're going to have enough all around. No tacky spray. This time I'm using tape. Cheap 99-cent store tape. Alright. Put it back in. And this will do a full stitch all the way around. Perfect. And now for our last step, we're going to flip that hoop back over, and it tacked our bag down, which is good. And we'll place our final piece. And on this, you want to make sure you have more at the bottom than anything at the top, because the bottom is where we're going to turn and we're going to heat seal it or sew it or whatever. This is where your seam is going to be that we're going to pull everything through. So you want to have extra fabric so that when we turn it and we'll do a heat and bond to seal it or sew it, you'll have some extra fabric to work with. So we're going to place this over it. We have enough at the bottom and our sides. And same thing, we're going to tape this one so we can use the tape we already have. Just pull it up. Tape it all around. There we go. Use one more piece of tape here. And if you use product tags like I do, or my designer tags, make my own. This is when you would insert it. I have it on the inside of my bags, and I use it right by the zipper near the top and just inside. So if you see it, it'll be just right there inside. Right there. And then we're going to tape near that spot so the label doesn't move. And we flip it over. We're going to press in those spots where the tape is just to make sure the tape is secure. We don't need the tape in this anymore. Alright. And we're all ready to go. Back in the machine. Lift up. Make sure nothing moved while you put it in your machine. Always lift up and check underneath there. And our last stitch out. Voila. Check the back, make sure nothing flipped up or moved on us. Everything looks good. Stitched out. Perfect. We can remove our tape. Leave it here. Looks good. Front looks good. And there we are. See you at the cutting table. Alright, we've finished. We're going to unhoop. And we're going cut out all around. I have pinking shears or regular shears. I use the pinking. It just helps on the corners and when it folds just from the bulk. I start at the top. Sometimes you can't get the pinking shears through all that vinyl. So then you have to go back to regular shears on part of it. And then where the zipper is, grab my regular shears. I'm going to leave that much of the zipper. I'm going to leave it. You can see it. There's not much. I'm just going to leave the length. That way it's not going to pull out, be too short. And I'll pull it back. And we'll cut down the other side too. There we go. And then when we get to the bottom here where the opening is, we want to leave as much fabric as possible so that when we do our turning and the heat and bond, we'll have enough fabric. So when you get to that part, right where it ends the sewing, I'm going to cut out. Same thing on this side. I'm going to flip it over so I know where it's at. It was right here where it started. So I'm going to go from there and cut out. Take my regular scissors. I'm going to cut most of the vinyl off. I don't need that much vinyl. I just need the fabric left. That way there's not as much bulk. Alright, and then the same thing on this side with the zipper. I'm going to leave quite a bit on the other end too, since there's no stopper on this end. That way, just in case it pulls or any of the stitches come out, you're not going to lose your zipper and have the zipper come flying off. So I leave about an inch and a half. Alright, so this is how much we have, and we've got quite a bit left over on our fabric part because we're going to end up folding. So we will be pulling. I want to make sure my corners are really cut good. Okay, so on turning, especially when the things are tough or heavy, you can heat it up a little bit, put a little iron on it slightly, blow dryer, heat gun, just to soften the vinyl up if you want. That's one way of doing it. And when turning, if you turn your corners right at the beginning of the bag, or at the beginning of your opening I should say, if you turn your corners outwards, these corners, and bring them out of the bag and curve your bag, everything should just fold out really easy. You don't want to grab your bag and try to bring the bottom and pull out. You want to start at the top, and you're going to, sorry about that, I have a busy street next to me. You're going to roll out and push out the bag. You'll find out it makes things so much easier this way. Alright, and that's already curved and that's already pushed out. There's my tag with my information. And we've got extra vinyl in there because of that corset on the front, so it's a little tough. I'm going to pull that tape off. That way things can move around a little bit better. And I'm going to reach in with my fingers, find that corner, and I'm going to push that corner out. And yes, this is the inside of the bag. So we want to get all this out first. We want to get our corners out nice. I'm going to cut that. And while we have it turned, we're going to actually go to the sewing machine. Or I'm sorry, we're going to go to the iron. And I'm going to iron this down a little bit, get my curves, my fabric inside flat. Since it's fabric here, I can lightly do it with a medium to light warm iron. We don't want a really hot iron. You will melt the vinyl. You're going to get the one vinyl to stick to another. So you're just going to use a medium to low heat iron, and you're just going to do really quick to press it. We're going to get that stabilizer that's to stick to the other one, and it'll get us to help turn this corner in on our fabrics. You can either sew it closed. Some people do just a little ladder stitch or a fold over stitch or a heat and bond. I choose and like to use the heat and bond. It just makes things quicker for me. So I'm going to go to the iron and do that really quick. I'm going to pop in back and forth really quick since I can't take you to the iron, but I'm going to go in between and show you what I'm doing. So I pressed it a little bit and tried to get it to stay down. I just did like the edges to get them to roll right and the top. And then I tried to turn this in since there's so much, that's why I said you leave more fabric here and it'd be easier to do. There's so much vinyl right there. So I tried to turn it in a little bit and I heated it up, tried to press it down. And I've got my seam on this one already pressed as well, so that's going to go over top. So I take the heat and bond, which is on a roll. That's how I have it. I like it this way. There's also a thinner one. And what I'm going to do is go from just inside where it's sewn from one end to the other. That's how much I'm going to need. Just tear it, that easy. Don't have to, you know, cut it if you don't want. And I'm going to start on the bulky side. It's going to be easier this way. And I'm going to iron this right, and get that roll to roll in, and I'm going to iron it right on there up towards the seam. So once that's ironed in there like that, I'll take the paper off, and then at the iron I'll lay it really flat and fold this piece over it right to the seam, and then iron this piece on and it'll be stuck. That's why you do the bulky side first, because you can iron on the paper and you'll get it to stick. There's no way you're going to iron through here and get the heat to go through. So we're going to put the tape on the bulky side first. Once we have it cooled down, peel the paper off, we can do the thin side on top of it and iron that down. So I will return in a moment with it finished. Okay, I did the heat and bond and ironed it. So we just took a strip of heat and bond. I put it on the heavier side, ironed it on the tape side or the paper side, let it cool down, tore the tape, and then it's a struggle. It's not real easy to do, especially with the vinyl. I rolled the vinyl in, rolled my side over, held it really tight with my fingers like this, and I put the iron in and ironed it the top just to get it to fuse, and it's fused. It's there. So I wanted to let you know that's how one way to closing up your bottom, and no one's going to see it. It's at the bottom. I'm going to trim some of my little threads here. My lighter. Get those little threads ends. There we go. So I have nothing hanging out inside my bag. I have all my threads up. Here's one. There we go. So now we're going to turn the rest of our bag. Reach in. Same thing. We start at the top. Pull it out. Push the corner out. This is when we can use our chopsticks too. I didn't grab one. I'll have to grab one. And I push this corner out. I start at my opening to get my opening to roll out. So you want to start at the top, push your corners out, and then the rest of your bag will start to roll out. And this is the tricky part because we have the corset to pull out as well. So I'm going to start rolling the bag out and pushing from the bottom and feeding it into the bag. And the rest just rolls right out. It's that easy. Everyone struggles because you're trying to pull this inside out. Doesn't work. Start at the top, pull those corners out, and everything will just start to roll out. And have my hand in there and pushing the corners out. I make my bags with the rounded corners in the first place So by doing that, your corners are going to be nice and round already. So you don't have that squared off corner that you're trying to push out. It's going to be a rounded corner, so it's kind of nice that way. Everything's pushed out. Zipper works. And the same thing, you compress it a little bit with a fabric over it and a light iron to get your corners to lay down, or under a big heavy book for a day or two, should get your seams to push down. And we'll trim our threads. I burn my threads. And now to work on the corset part. Right? I have a crocodile. Like I said, haven't used it. Used it like maybe twice. So not a person that has used it, but we're about to explore it together. I normally made my holes and punch things with a leather punch, leather hole. This is like a leather punch or just a hole punch. I got mine at Harbor Freight. I think you can get them on Amazon as well. They have different size holes. You just roll it around. It cuts very well. I actually use this to punch the holes in my tags and my labels, like this one here. Just in my paper, I use a tiny hole just to put the tags on my product. So it works great. Not, hole punch, you can only get so many. You can probably get like 10 pieces of paper in here and punch holes. So different holes. This is kind of a good tool to use, handy tool. So this is one thing we can use. The crocodile has its own two different size hole makers. One is the 1/8 and the other one is the 3/16. So we're going to use the 3/16 with just the bigger one. I'm going to use black rivets. And I decided to go ahead and change out my ribbon. I'm going to go with my wider one because it's a bigger purse. And I'm going to do purple ribbon. I think I kind of like that purple ribbon going up there instead of the pink. So we're going to start and we'll punch our holes. Alright, I'm just going to explain the crocodile really quick. That'll be a whole nother video, or I'm sure it's probably out there. I'm going to do one hole complete and then I'll do the rest without talking and speed it up. I'm sure you don't want to watch me do this for 10 minutes. I'm figuring it out. So we're going to punch a hole. I'm going to start with the bottom one, and I'm going to line it up, and I'm actually going to have to kind of eyeball it because I have stuff in there. I'm going to do it this way so I can see where the hole punch is coming out. This one's a little hard. Alright, something new. I'm going to get it right smack in the middle of that hole. And you can choose to do rivets or no rivets and just do the hole. Not bad. I'll see, it went through the thread a little bit. So I know that this one's easier to see than that is. I can get it right smack in the middle. And that's how it punches the hole. I think it punches a lot nicer hole, so. But actually I would use the other. Just kind of rotates backwards, so. And right in the middle of the hole, make that punch. Interesting, it didn't want to go. There we go. So it kind of makes nicer holes. And we'll go ahead and do, I have already set up the tip of the gun, the tip of the pliers, I guess. They actually come out and they rotate to the right sizes that you need and they pop back down in. You want to do the prong that's sticking out is going to be how this rounded part is going to sit, and then the little dimple part is going to be for the bottom, and that's what's going to push it and spread it apart. So you put your rivet in the hole. That part is going to go on the top of the rivet. And it comes through, and the divots at the bottom, or dimples at the bottom, and we're just going to squeeze. It's actually pretty easy to squeeze, so it's nothing real hard that you got to put pressure on or anything like a cam snap. And there you go, there's one rivet, so I'm going to pop the rest of them in. Okay, there we go. That was quick and easy. Not bad at all. One kind of goobered up on me. I didn't have it seated all the way in properly. So when you push them in, make sure you got it all the way in and you push down the fabric, you know, all the way to the lip of it. So, perfect. Now it's time to lace it up. So I changed my lace. I went that 40 inches again. This is an approximate. I'll know better. This is the first larger bag that I've done, so we're working on this together. So we can do it either way, if you want to start with your lace on the top of them, or if you start with your, lacing underneath it and come out. So I'm going to start with my lacing on the top. I'm going to come through both sides. Make it even. Something we might want to, maybe press it a little bit before we start, but we'll get the idea once we get lacing as to how far we can make the laces go out. So started at the bottom, and we're going to come out and I'm going to go from the outside, from top to the bottom. We want to make sure our laces are going to, lay nice too and stuff, so. Alright, I'm going to show you also how to tie a bow. Some people did not know that there is a certain way to tie a bow. I'm just going to make this a little bit higher for you to see. So, when things are facing you to make your bow, I did mess up, so I'm going to redo this, but kind of know, I think I'm going to like the crisscrossing like this up here. I don't want it out on the outside. So, the actual tying of a bow, you go your right over left and you make your first thing. So you notice that there's like a top part and a bottom. So your one comes out the bottom and one comes out the top. So when you make your bow, you're going to take your top and you're going to make the loop. And since the loop is up on the top thing, or if you make it the other way in your left hand and your loop is on the bottom, so whichever way your loop is, this ribbon is going to stay at the bottom. It's not going to come across the top. It's going to stay at the bottom of your loop. And you'll come around, same thing in regular tying a bow, and then you're going to pull through your loop with your ribbon at the bottom, or underneath the loop. Make my loops. And when that is done properly, your loops will stay at the top, and your tails will be at the bottom. That's how you make, how you tie your bow so that it lays properly. Okay, so depending on how you do that, I'll do it again one more time. Untie the loop. The string's at the top, loop is at the top. I'm going to make my loop. This is at the bottom. I'm going to come around the bottom and come up, and I'm going to pull it through and keep my loop, tails at the bottom. I'm going to pull my loops. And, if you gently pull these and then pull your loops again, that's how you get your sizes of your loops right. And there you go. Loops at the top, tails at the bottom. So we've made our corset bag. Like I said, I'm going to redo this to do it right. It's however you prefer to tie up. Looks great. We're going to add our strap, our shoulder strap. Sometimes you get what you pay for. Here we go. Alright, and the zipper's looking great. Have my lining, little roses and pink. And I'm going to put a zipper charm on there, and I chose, I buy these all over inexpensive. I don't buy them for regular price. Coupons, half price. I get them on Amazon. I get them on Wish. I get them on Alibaba, or I mean not, sorry, AliExpress. Inexpensive that way. You can buy more for less. Maybe 50 cents for the charm, if that, for the top piece in the charm. Like I said, if that, 50 cents. I don't even think it was 50. I think it's a lot less than 50 cents for the two together. So, and it just adds to it. So that is our shoulder bag. Our corset shoulder bag. And then I'll trim these also, but I'm going to relace it. So you'll trim those. And there's our shoulder bag. Fashion, style, it's all there. And it's still like a three-dimensional. It looks there. You can see through it. I think it's cute. Hold it as a handbag and put your hand. There we go. And that is a fully lined corset bag, and it's the 6x8.5. So if you enjoyed my video and liked it, give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments any ideas, what your opinion is, if you liked it, didn't like it. Subscribe, hit that bell. You'll get more notifications when I come up with more great videos for you. Thanks for watching. Meet you at the cutting table.